This is not the way Mayor Bob Parker ever expected to enter his city.
ABC team going in.
But a series of powerful earthquakes since September has made this the new normal in Christchurch.
Dominic Schwartz, that's great.
I've been to war zones in Africa, Afghanistan, the Middle East. Christchurch's red zone is every bit as disturbing.
If you look at the centre of my city, you would say, well, you know, this could be one of those cities in the world where there's an insurrection. It looks like it's been under sustained rocket and artillery fire for some time, and our people have been hammered.
It's not something anybody would ever believe they would have had to look at or contemplate looking at, to be honest. Certainly not me.
Quakes have ripped the heart out of New Zealand's second biggest city.
This is High Street. You can see some tram lines just a little further up here coming to an abrupt end. This area was being developed as a really beautiful boutique shops, fashion, art, coffee houses.
Up to half of the CBD will be demolished. The city's deadliest quake site, the CTV building, has already disappeared. But not the ghosts of the 116 people who died here.
One of the most horrific moments in the first quake, on the 22nd of February at least, was coming and seeing this. By the time I got here, there was the collapsed building, the lift shaft was still standing, and crawling over the smoking ruins of the rubble were just piles of rescuers. The USAR teams were here. They were pulling people out, not always alive, and it was a terrible, it's just a nightmare for anybody in the city. I think this is where the nightmare probably reaches its most intense.
It was like the end of the world to me. It was absolutely shocking. I'll never forget it.
You've signed this off?
Yeah.
Mary Ann Jackson is the receptionist for Canterbury Television.
No, that's good.
The regional broadcast station occupied the first two levels of the 6-storey CTV building. Of the 17 television staff inside when the quake hit, only Mary Ann made it out alive.
I was on the ground floor, and the studio was on the ground floor as well, but at the time of the earthquake, everyone was upstairs on the first floor except myself.
Now, there's a free sausage sizzle. We like that, don't we?
Matthew Beaumont was the station's program scheduler and web manager, but he'd played most roles at CTV.
Who is Miley Cyrus's father?
He was an all-rounder and a showman.
That's cops 1, dumbass criminal 0.
In the hour before the quake, he'd warmed his lunch in the first-floor kitchen. He was last seen in his office 10 minutes before his world imploded.
Well, he was a special guy, and all fathers would say that, but he was very sincere, humorous, loved a joke, gentle, touch of naive with him, which makes him something special in my eyes, because if you're naive, you're open to the wonders of the world. And he was open to the wonders of the world. And he was just a special guy.
Also in the CTV building that day was Pamela Brien, a police officer in the Child Protection Unit. She was visiting the clinic on the 4th floor.
She had a marvellous technique with babies. And that's been said by a lot of people. By that time they came around, they couldn't get their own children to sleep. She'd get them, cuddle them and what have you. And she'll never experience that with her own grandchildren.
But on the morning of February the 22nd, no one could have imagined the horror that lay ahead.
Well, it was a day that I'd been for lunch. I got back about 12:25, and just a normal day. We had filming in the studio.
Blue Monkey is going on a trip.
We had Let's Go Shopping, and we had Good Living, and Donna Manning was fronting both of them, and she was doing a great job.
And he's taking Blue Monkey with him.
Are you re-exporting it as a MOV file?
Tom Hawker had been operating the studio camera for Donna Manning. He planned to eat in, but his colleague and girlfriend convinced him otherwise.
Hopefully this one will be exported as smaller file.
Now, I had my lunch made that day. Penelope thought, well, why don't we just both go out and you can come with me for a walk and get my lunch. So I thought, oh, well, why not?
Jay, we can put in 50% and we'll cover the rest.
Yep, thank you.
Hi Steve, it's Emily from CTV. How are you?
Journalist Emily Cooper looked like being stuck inside for the day. Stories kept falling over.
Well, what is the hold-up? Because obviously they've got all the information they needed. They were going to do it, last week.
She asked Chief Reporter Sam Gibb for any ideas.
This one day I said to Sam, have you got any ideas of something I could do to fill in while I'm waiting for people to get back to me? He's like, oh, well, there was a story. I was actually going to get Reese to do it, but you're free, he's not. You go do it if you want. So I rang the lady, and I guess the guilt is that it so easily could have been Reese.
Reese Brookbanks was Emily Cooper's university friend. He'd been at CTV just a week. At 12:51 on February the 22nd, 2011, CTV stopped covering the news. It became the news.
The latest quake to hit Christchurch just before 1 p.m. measured 6.3 on the Richter scale.
Unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
Rescuers pulled people from the burning CTV building as helicopters worked to put out a fire.
And I could feel it collapsing underneath. So we are on the first floor, it was collapsing.
I think we need to prepare ourselves in the city for a death toll that will be significant.
I don't think we can go past the fact that we may well be witnessing New Zealand's darkest day.
When the quake hit, I knew it was going to be, I knew it was bad.
The road's cracked.
For some reason I just had this urge to get back, and I pretty much just ran back in bare feet.
Oh my God, that's the CTV building!
Oh, shit, hell.
Oh my God! That's...
Oh, shit.
I never, ever thought could have prepared myself for literally just a pile of rubble.
See, there's people, they're just taking people out there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Shit.
The noise was horrific. It was like the building was breaking up. I knew that, and I knew the others didn't have a chance to get out. The noise was like a jet plane. The staircase was right at the side. It was going in and out. All the glass, all the frontage of the building was coming in at me. And I thought, I've got to get out of here. And I just ran for it. And I was sort of going sideways as I was going out the door, and I was terrified the door wouldn't open, but it did.
And then I looked at the CTV building, and that started shaking. And unfortunately came down right in front of us within a matter of 12 seconds, I'd say.
It's the CTV building, about 10 minutes after the quake.
I still thought I was going to die as I was running out of the building. I thought the building is going to get me on the way, but I'll run as fast as I can. And luckily, the shoes I had on that day weren't too high, So I was lucky, and I just ran for it. But if I had stopped and got my bag or my jacket, I probably wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be.
It's a total demolition of that building.
I certainly did hear some sounds, and people yelling at help. But then what could you do? I mean, there's so much debris on top of them, unfortunately. What could you do?
Donna Manning's children waited by the rubble for a miracle. It never came.
Nobody needed to die in the CTV building. It's a horrible thing to say, but it should not have collapsed the way it did.
Rugby Park in suburban Christchurch is jumping. The February quake knocked out the city's main stadium, so the Canterbury Crusaders are training here. Among them a slew of all-black luminaries, including Dan Carter. Structural engineer Barry Davidson has been called in to ensure the broadcast tower is strong and safe. 2 words he doesn't associate with the CTV building.
In a large earthquake, we would expect that there would be a lot of damage, but people should be able to exit out of the building, down the stairs. So for it to collapse the way it did, either there was a design failure or a construction failure, or both.
It's not possible that it could have just been an act of God?
No. Well, because most of the buildings that were designed well and modern buildings are still up, and which proves the point that if you design to sort of New Zealand philosophy, is that you can have very big earthquakes and they still stand up, so they don't collapse. Yeah, well, the bricks, we know they always bust and they're so stiff.
As a former lecturer and past president of New Zealand's Structural Engineering Society, Barry Davidson has given plenty of talks on seismic building failures.
That's a catastrophic failure. If you were nearby, you'd be dead.
He used to use examples from Turkey and Mexico. Now he's got them on his doorstep.
If something good turns up out of the Christchurch earthquakes, it might be that the people of Christchurch are going to be asking some big hard questions and maybe forcing the government of the day, and I'm not picking on this particular government or any other one, to tighten up the rules.
It is a daunting task.
Justice Mark Cooper is already asking some hard questions about what happened and what needs to change. The High Court judge is chairing the Royal Commission, which is investigating building failures caused by the earthquakes.
If, for example, we decided that a particular building failed because it had been inadequately designed or inadequately built, we would say so.
The CTV building is a key focus for the Royal Commissioners. It was designed, engineered and constructed by local firms. The architectural and structural engineering companies are still operating. The builder is not. Council gave the $2 million project the go-ahead in September 1986. "25 years later, it was a pile of smouldering rubble. The government's building department is conducting an inquiry, as well as the Royal Commission. Neither will determine liability.
The function of the Royal Commission is more investigative, and its aim is to get to the bottom of what happened, not to get to the bottom of who may be liable.
Well, someone needs to be accountable, because all those gorgeous people lost their lives, and I just think someone needs to be, well, it's murder, really. It's manslaughter.
I want someone's ass busted over this and held accountable. I think jail would be very nice. See how lonely they feel at night when they come home. See what it's like to be lonely. Let the pricks suffer. Let them swing.
Beneath a volcanic ash sky, the families of 50 earthquake victims are joining forces to seek answers and justice. Lawyer Grant Cameron is leading the charge. He has first-hand experience of collapsing buildings. February's quake left him and his staff trapped on the 6th floor of the Forsyth Bar office block, another building being investigated by the Royal Commission.
A bit of a drama knocking out the window and then abseiling staff down the side of the building, but the stairwell is completely gone. 17 stories with just both sets of stairs gone. So, does anybody like to start off with some questions or tell me how you feel?
Most people here lost loved ones in the CTV building. They wonder if it was structurally compromised by the first big quake in September.
As I understand it, people had serious concerns about the general safety. Were they relayed to that particular owner, and were any steps taken to get any engineering or other advice?
The owners of the building say the proper checks were carried out. David Beaumont would like to see the paperwork.
Is there a central database as to the engineers who carried out those inspections, and is there a database as to the quality of those inspections?
Geoff Brien also has questions.
I smell a rat here because I think there's something that's being covered up here.
He's haunted by thoughts of the fire that ripped through the CTV ruins and his wife Pamela's last moments.
No one wants to hear that their wife's been char-grilled. How blunt's that? And to never see your wife again. Like, if, for example, if you had a heart attack now, you get put in a coffin, you close the lid, you see the person, you kiss them goodbye, all that sort of stuff. But there was none of that resolved there because there was nothing to kiss goodbye. Someone's got to be accountable. 116 good people in that building going about their daily business. Too right. They've got to be accountable.
He does look like a bit of a character.
Yeah, he was always a personality.
David Beaumont is looking for reasons rather than retribution to reconcile the loss of his son Matthew, the bright-eyed boy he and wife Jeanette first met in the Greymouth orphanage.
And I thought, does it happen in the first few weeks? Does it happen in the first few months? Or when would that kind of bond come? And I walked in there, looked over, and that was my son, just like that. Because even at 2 weeks old, he'd chosen us as much as we chose him.
Yeah. Can I show it? So always been a fan.
Matthew was a Doctor Who fanatic. His fiancée was a fellow traveller.
Although our relationship was brief, it was wonderful, perfect and amazing.
But instead of a marriage in November, Kelly Thorndicroft got a memorial in June.
Reasons tell me that you and I are unlikely to meet again, but I think I shall not listen to reason. I've seen the world inside your head and know that all things are possible. Godspeed, my angel.
You could go on forever just trying to find blame or something, but it's not going to bring anybody back. All you want to do is try and make the situation in the future as safe as you can.
Mayor Bob Parker says striving for a safe city is not just an option, it's an imperative.
181 people, in essence, perished on my watch. And like everybody, I want those answers. We need to know what happened here. I'm not looking for a witch hunt.
He says the Royal Commission will be crucial in laying the foundations for a new Christchurch.
It's not about blame, it is about getting answers. And we cannot go forward as a city if we can't get the answers and if we can't build the safest city in the world from a seismic perspective. We have to have that goal.
But Auckland-based engineer John Scarry fears a rebuilt Christchurch will be no safer.
Almost certainly, seismically deficient buildings will be designed and rebuilt.
This is my open letter of 2002, 150-page report.
9 years ago, he warned about the parlous state of structural engineering and construction in New Zealand. His report led to a review of the Building Act, but he says little effective change.
I could write a new open letter today, just starting from 2003. Things haven't improved, they've got worse.
Another engineer found there were problems in it.
He says the industry is headed for total collapse, with no proper skills training and councils stripped of their technical staff.
Do you think the Christchurch earthquake is a wake-up call for the nation?
Yes, but no one seems to be paying any attention.
I, for one, believe that we did the right thing because we absolutely have to get this right.
I wrote to the Prime Minister John Key in October 2009, asking him to intervene, and he didn't even bother to reply.
We're giving people an option to get out of there because it's an uncomfortable place to live.
Earthquake Recovery Minister Barry Davidson concedes it often takes tragedy to spark action.
You know, one of the things that always worries us is that it takes tragedies to get royal commissions to give us advice that we probably should have been seeking anyway. I guess in this case, even the scientists have been somewhat baffled by the extent of the whole seismic event that continues here.
Over the past 10 months, Christchurch has been rocked by more than 7,000 earthquakes. They've shaken this city to its core. The founders of Christchurch didn't plan to build a city with a church in it. They planned to build a church with a city around it. This church, Christchurch Cathedral. It's the very heart of this place, an icon for believers and non-believers alike. So as it takes a battering with each new quake, so too does the faith of the city's residents in the ability of Christchurch to recover. The cathedral's parishioners are now worshipping at Christ's College Chapel.
If we have another earthquake while the service is going on this morning, we suggest you drop, get into the smallest space possible, cover your head and wait until the shaking is stopped.
Led by the city's Anglican Archdeacon, they pray for quieter times and a good night's sleep.
There was a cartoon circulating after the September earthquake. I wonder if you saw it. Two people are having a conversation and one says, "How are you sleeping after the quake?" The other replies, "Oh, like a baby. Awake 5 times a night and wet myself."
The 19th century cathedral may have taken a fatal hit, but the Archdeacon says the congregation has not.
It's always about more than buildings. And the spirit of Christchurch is such that we will rebuild and we'll carry on.
I went along today to take a closer look and ask what the future is for this iconic Christchurch building.
When it comes to recovery, Canterbury Television is showing the way. CTV was back on air within 8 weeks of the quake, despite having lost half of its staff as well as its part owner and managing director.
Thank you. See you soon.
Once that goes out the door, you can open it.
It was a race against time to get the first news bulletin couriered to Auckland on a USB stick for play-out back to Christchurch.
This is gold, gold, gold.
It was no small triumph.
You can't go through something like as massive as this. A majority of people would never go through something in their whole lives like this. So it can't not change you as a person. I'm want to be a better person, and I want to have the best career and life I possibly can for the people, the amazing people that lost their lives.
CTV does not have a guaranteed future. Neither does the city. But both are standing their ground, which in Shaky Christchurch is more than a start.